All right, hello and welcome to another special Thursday night edition of ImmuniTEATime with me, Dan, and my lovely co-host, Will.
Hello, hello.
And oh wait, before we cheers, we should probably bring on our special guest, huh?
We should.
We've got
Hello.
Quentin from Survivor Wisconsin Season 8. You may know him as the clown in a crown. It's
My
quoted
claim
by
to fame,
Jimmy.
yeah.
Do you have a drink to cheers, or do you
I
want to
do.
just...
I've got a drink. I came
Great.
Perfect. And like the light is like blending my mug in with my shirt, but that's fine. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
And it's tea, so official.
I knew what I had to do. I came prepared.
Period. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm a fraud. I just drink water out of my cup. But so happy to have Quentin joining us. Thanks to Will for reaching out after you guys played in an LRG and you famously watched him get voted out.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Look,
Oh, it was a fun time.
that was a great
yeah,
game.
it came to a pretty abrupt end in a brutal
What could have
fashion,
been?
but yeah.
Yeah, we had idols played this round that didn't do anything, and you played an idol in that round that didn't do anything. But
Well, yeah, ultimate
Different
do nothing idol.
but-
Yeah.
we don't need to dwell on that too much since we're here to talk Survivor Wisconsin, and there's a lot to talk about. So may as well just start at the top. What's the look? Well, we do
There's
have a lot to
something
talk
to
about.
talk about. I don't know. There's a lot. There's some.
No, we had a lot that we were thinking of talking
Go ahead,
about.
Dan. Don't worry about my face.
All right. Well, Corey wins immunity, and that is probably the most interesting outcome we could have, because if he
Yes, it
didn't, I can only assume that he would have gone unless he found an idol, because I'm sure he would have been just searching for an idol everywhere if he didn't win immunity. And he kind of is chilling for this round. He's going to vote Jimmy. He's telling everyone he's going to vote Jimmy, and that's really all there's to talk about with Corey for this episode. Everyone else for the scramble, I wanted to talk about how Kira's name doesn't come up at all. And she's understandably stressed, and I think she should be, because it should be obvious to mention Kira's name here, but no one wants to actually vote Kira. She does end up finding an idol, and has a plan, but I guess we should wait to get into Kira's plan until we get to the tribal portion. So what should we talk about during the scramble portion? The fake idols going around?
Yeah. I mean, there's Jimmy had one. Ben had one. Yeah. Let's. Who do you want to start with?
We can start with Ben's, since when Corey
That was a
gets...
tie from last episode. Yeah.
Because Corey gets the immunity necklace and can't wear it, so he has to wear it around his hat since Ben ruined it. And Ben is going around telling everyone he has 2 idols now, so he's going to play one this round and the next round to guarantee Final 5. And Corey kind of calls him out on it. Show me the idol, and instantly cracks up seeing it. He's like, it's just a shard. This is actually one of the funniest parts of the episode for me, because I don't know how you could ever pull that off as an actual idol. It's just a little fragment of the necklace. And Ben instantly caves.
I will give Ben credit for creativity. Having played Second Chance and having Devin's role, I don't know if it was for you all in Calm versus Chaos. I don't think it was for us in New Blood, but it was kind of an unspoken rule that you didn't really have fake idols.
Right.
But the one in Second Chance that carried over for Heroes versus Villains is that the materials have to be in game. You can't bring materials from outside. So whatever you find is fair game, but otherwise you can't do much. And at least in my experience in Second Chance, I wanted to make a fake idol, and there was no materials to do that. So I gave Ben props for getting very creative with what was around him or on him. But yeah, there was no way that was ever going to fly.
Yeah, I actually on Calm versus Chaos, when I was like a week before we started playing, I texted Devin and asked him if we're allowed to bring in items to make fake idols, and he shut me down instantly. So once that happened, I kind of gave up on making fake idols for that season. But yeah, I was kind of shocked that 2 were floating around at the same time in one episode. That was something else. I was honestly, I probably would have been convinced by Jimmy until he, ultimately revealed at Tribal Council. But Jimmy put on a pretty good show, I thought.
Jimmy's acting skills are always top notch. I will give him that much. So really quick, because my name is out there by 2 of my favorite people, Amaris and Devin. Amaris, I am obsessed with fake idol making. I will say I tried to make a fake idol that I ended up not even needing, but I just wanted to play it before I went out just for shits and giggles. It fell apart in Jeff's hand. So like I just want to see someone else do it successfully. That one I came in with from home, so I have no excuse for it not working. Devin, I think I said this after second chance, but I would love to like, if you're going to require materials at the site, scatter them around, like have them blended in with the house as if you didn't plant them, but like plant them, right? Like don't have a fucking arts and crafts table, but like have a string in a book somewhere and have a little piece of something somewhere else. And like have like, if you're going to make an idol, make it like a real idol, make it with beads and then have those beads like randomly placed so that it can look somewhat similar or the same kind of vibe. Like don't just hand it to them on a silver platter, but give them a shot, right? If you're going to have that rule, I think there has to be some materials in play to like give a shot. I don't know. What do you guys think before we move on from this?
I think could be fun. Like, why not? And if someone wants to waste their time trying to find materials that are actually in the game hidden to make an idol, I mean, then more power to them. Time's very valuable, especially in a sped up game like this. So it could be a fun thing to see implemented in the future. But because we see Jimmy try and scramble. Sorry, Quentin, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say I 100% agree. I'm always a big fan of fake idol twists when I see them in other LIGs or in the real show. I think it just adds another layer of chaos to the game, and I'm always there for that. So I'm a big fan of the fake idols.
And I think going off your thing, Dan, I did see your comment, Trini. It's a different game, which is why we can talk later. I think going off Dan's point too, to have someone like Corey who's at the bottom to like manage to find materials and he could say, oh, I found an idol, when it's really you just found random materials and now maybe he makes it to Final Four after just winning immunity. Like he's this underdog story, even though he was the top dog for so long. Like, I don't know. I could just see a lot of different players in this cast even where it could be really fascinating. But to circle back to Ben, yeah, there was no chance in hell that was going to fly. And then I guess, we'll get more into it at Tribal, but it seems like Ben was turning a new leaf for the most of the episode, in my perspective. He wasn't kind of typical paranoid Ben until that last second where he looked at Emma and said, do I need to be worried? And all she said was, I don't know what to tell you. And then we see old Ben come right back to Final 6, Final 7 like we typically do.
Yeah, I think Ben was very close to not playing that idol at all. Mm-hmm. I think it wasn't until Kira actually went up to play her own idol that Ben does go up and play his idol. And so if Kira's idol meant anything at all, it at least may have prompted Ben into getting to use his, so he doesn't have it for Final 5. But yeah, Ben... And yeah, Kira is saying he played it because she did, and that's why she did it.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I was confused at first, why Kira played her idol. I thought because her name hadn't come up the entire episode. Obviously, we're not there, so maybe I thought maybe Kira thought there was heat on her, but it didn't make sense to me. But when I think about it, yeah, it's pretty big to flush Ben's idol going into Final 5, and now 2 idols are played, so. Who knows? There's probably another idol out there for Final 5, and that's anybody's game. So that's big. I think that both of those got flushed.
Yeah, I think with it being a shorter episode, Dan, we can just integrate Tribal as it flows.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I would say, at first I agree, Quentin. I thought that Kira was falling back on her old paranoia that we usually see. Like we see Ben get paranoia typically at this time. We see Kira typically get paranoid around this time. Even early in the episode when she was having Jimmy console her and be like, are you sure my name's not out there? So I was like, okay, girl, like she was a little bit paranoid in the voting booth. I was like, confessional room, excuse me. I was like, why are we playing the idol? You just found it. There's no need. And then once Ben played it, it clicked. Kira now made Final 3. I don't see a world. We'll get more into it. I don't see a world in which Kira at this point doesn't make Final Tribal. I think her playing that idol was brilliant and arguably like the nail in the coffin for her winning this season, but time will tell.
I do see a world she doesn't make it, being a world where either Jimmy or Corey goes at Final 5, and then at Final 4, Jimmy or Corey wins that immunity, and then Kira seems to be a bigger target than Ben. As for who to bring to the end, I don't know though. Or alternatively, someone having one of Jimmy or Corey winning immunity and then the other finding and playing an idol on themselves. And then if she became a target over a Ben in that round. So I think there are ways, but I do think even though it wasn't obviously the result she wanted, I do think it is still a salvageable spot for her because Emma's no longer there. She loses a vote to help her vote people out, but I think Emma would for sure vote Kira at the end. And now the targets are going to be set on Jimmy and Corey, and as long as they aren't immune and they both get taken out, I think it's an easy Kira win at Final 3 against Ben and Amelia.
Yeah, so to circle back to the fake powers, why don't we talk about Jimmy a little bit? That that what looked like to me like a clothespin as an idol was wild. Like going back to what Quentin said earlier, I think Jimmy's a great actor to like pull that from up high, which also we all have played. Anyone who plays Survivor Wisconsin knows that nothing is that high. It's always accessible for everyone. But he still misted them. # Team Snake forever. That being said, yes, Trinity, I live in a city. We woo. That being said, his acting, no one's acting is good enough to have that be convinced as an idol. I don't know who he thought he was going to convince that was an idol.
Yeah, that was crazy. I thought when I saw him pull that out at Tribal, I was like, you would have been better off leaving that wrapped up, man. Like as soon as you pull that out, any thought that might have been a real idol goes out the window, and it just looked a little silly. But
yeah, what even was
that?
He
played it well up until that point. Yeah, I couldn't even tell what it was from watching.
Yeah, and I mean, it was high, but the idol Kira found was on the chandelier, so that was also highly placed.
Okay.
So I mean, she'd have to climb on the table to get it, but not out of complete reason. But yeah, the way he just jumped up and grabbed it, everyone instantly bought it. I don't think people doubted it until, like Quentin said, it showed up at Tribal. How about we have Emma and Amelia and Kira kind of trying to make the decision on what to do this round. It seems like the three of them do want to stay women strong and make the decision here, but I think there's a lot of holdup because Amelia doesn't want to vote for Ben ever. She says she made a promise to Ben that she'll never vote for him, so keep that in mind for any games that the two of them are in the future. But she's not going to be able to split a vote on Ben, and even offers up to Kira, you can steal my vote to make it easier on her. But Kira ultimately decides to go at this moment with stealing Corey's vote, who's openly voting for Jimmy, but she still wants to do it to vote for Jimmy, essentially to bluff. So Jimmy may feel safe is my take on it, because he knows Corey's voting for him. So if Kira steals Corey's vote, then, well, that might not go on Jimmy anymore. But Jimmy, as we see at Tribal, kind of still calls that bluff and then starts to immediately talk with Ben about what they should do from there. And then we've got Emma voting for Amelia. I know I'm cutting up to the votes now, but I feel like this is the main talking point here. So I'm assuming, was the Amelia vote then in the case that there was both an idol play by Ben and Jimmy, or?
I'm trying to remember who voted for Amelia. Was it Jimmy?
It was Emma. Emma voted Amelia. Emma. Yeah.
Right.
We can also ask Emma about this when she arrives.
Yeah, I mean, she had said it's because she was wanting to like break up Ben and Amelia, and so I guess maybe if it's because Ben had the idol, so that like, but Amelia wasn't going to go. I mean, the only thing I can think about is like plant the seed of doubt, because Emma's a very observant player. I think she has a very strong pulse on the game, which has been the quote of the season. And Amelia's name, I don't know if she's gotten any votes, or if she has, like, it's been like a random throwaway. So I could see Emma just wanting to plant a seed, because it seemed like Emma felt safe. Like, I think this was kind of a blindside ? And so maybe she's like, okay, well then this will plant the seed for next round for me to try to like get some traction, because sometimes sometimes you need that vote to start conversation. It's different if having Amelia's name out there next round comes from a tribal versus someone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I could see Emma doing that to plant the seed, thinking she was going to be there next round.
But at the same time, hindsight's 2020. But voting for Jimmy ties it up, and Jimmy probably goes home on a revote. So
100%. He even said that in the episode. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah. And I mean, the hindsight works that way too, then, where it's like, so we get, if Kira was trying to bluff Jimmy, obviously the bluff doesn't work. We know that now. But she could have stolen Amelia's vote, even possibly had told Jimmy she's stealing Amelia's vote because she's not comfortable with voting for Ben. And so by stealing her vote, then he doesn't have to worry about that, but then still use Amelia's vote and her vote to vote Jimmy, and still have Corey vote Jimmy like he was going to. That could work then. Because then what? It'd be those three would be on Jimmy, and then you'd have Ben and Jimmy voting Emma, and then Emma voting Amelia. So then it would be a 3-2-1, right?
If I'm following you correctly, I think that's even what Ben said in the voting booth. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So I think now knowing how it plays out, that's probably, if she wants to get Jimmy out, that's the move to go with. But so it is unfortunate that she uses the steal a vote, doesn't get the result she wants. Jimmy's still there, and she loses probably her number one ally. But like I was saying earlier, I think that could still be beneficial in the long run to Kira, if that means that the next two to go are Jimmy and Corey, and then she's sitting there at the end, and she has plenty of allies then on the jury that would be willing to vote for her.
And not only that, but she has a pair, and like, how do people decide? Like, having Ben and Amelia at a final tribal with Kira gives Kira leverage to say, like, these two were with each other. They can't really sell their own games. They're going to sell the same game at final tribal. There's nuances, of course. I'm not saying they play identical games, but any duo you have, like, even if it was me and Kira in second chance, right? Like, there are ways that you differentiate from your pair, but at the end of the day, a lot of the decisions were each other. So it's hard to make that totally clear to a jury. So I think that gives Kira even more leverage for a win at the end.
Yeah, and I don't want to say Ben's chances are completely dead just because he does have a lot of friends on the jury, and he could, I would assume his argument would be using this round against Kira, assuming it's a Ben versus Kira final tribal. He could say, oh, I got this move over on Kira, and then depending on how the next few rounds would work out, if Ben has more moves he can hang on his hat, he's already got people like Nolan on the jury and maybe other friends that would help voting for him. I know Kira's got a lot of friends on the jury too, but I don't want to like count Ben out completely. But I think right now, at least so far in the game, Kira would do very well in a final tribal against him.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that Amelia still being in the game at this point and not being willing to vote for Ben actually helps Ben if he's sitting at the final three. If it does obviously speak to his social game and his ability to build these very strong connections with people, that is really like a hallmark of his games. But if I'm a juror sitting there, it's like, well, you just had a free ride once Amelia wasn't willing to vote for you. His name came up and Amelia kind of shut it down and said, I won't be a number for Ben. So if I'm a juror and I hear about that, that's definitely something I consider when I'm comparing his game to like if he's sitting next to Kira.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm thinking about from Amelia's perspective as a juror is, if she was keeping Ben around because she felt that he's a bigger target and that got her farther, and it could be, right? Her even breaking the fourth wall, she said repeatedly throughout the season that she's trying to make everyone think that she doesn't know what she's doing, and so maybe she says that that's her plan at the end of the season. She just hasn't said it to the audience yet. But my concern is that she's falling on what I've also done is loyalty over logic. And that, maybe you decided to align with Ben at first because it was logical, but over time the logic fades and you're just keeping it on for loyalty and friendship. And so that's not a game that I'm going to vote for. You have to have, strong reason as to why you're going to save him, especially at, what are we at, 6? At final 6.
Yeah, it seemed to definitely be an emotional decision for her. I mean, you could tell she was kind of distraught while making the vote. And I think if she's not willing to vote Ben, and then she didn't feel good about voting for Jimmy either, then the only other options to vote for would be Kira or Emma. And Ben and Jimmy are correctly then putting votes on Emma. And so then that's enough to make Emma the end result. So it's an unfortunate situation when you're down to this many people. You can't really fire off a stray vote, even if you want to, because that stray vote could end up being the swing vote, whether that's your intention or not. But do we have other thoughts on the episode as a whole? Because I think the episode is mostly this move and the fact that Corey's still in the game.
I have a question for both of you before we
Yes.
bring Emma on.
hear it.
Let's say you're in Ben's position, right? Like you know how he's viewed as, like, how do I say this? Imagine you're Ben, so like we don't know what the other players are thinking. I'll leave it at that. I won't overcomplicate it. Do you play the idol? Kira plays her idol. Do you play your idol?
I think I do. I think it's easy to sit here and say, you know, you should have held on to it. If you trusted Jimmy that you were putting votes on Emma, and you trusted Kira, then you should hold on to it and wait to play it. But I think also after the whole fake idol fiasco kind of fell apart mid discussion before tribal council, I'm sure there was lots of doubts running through his mind on if people actually trusted him to go through with the plan they came up with. So I probably would have ended up playing it in his position.
Yeah, I think I would too. I would not want to go home final six with an idol in my pocket. So Kira is playing a steal a vote, and it could be Jimmy as the target from Ben's perspective. It could also still be Ben as the target, and she's also playing her idol now. There's a lot of moving parts there that I think I would just rather make sure I'm there for round 5, and then if I'm still there with Jimmy and Corey, at least I know that those two are probably more likely to be targeted over me for that round anyways. I guess the biggest worry for Ben would be, who am I sitting with at the end if I get to the end, and what would my argument be against that person? But because right now I think if Corey does somehow find a way to get to the end, it's hard for me to see a world where he doesn't get voted as the winner unless people really hate him, but I don't think people really hate him.
No.
I think Richie would for sure vote for him. Emily would vote for him. I mean, those are 2 for sure locked up votes. I know there's way more than 2, but those are the first 2 that come to mind. And I think like Nolan probably would, unless Nolan might still vote Ben if he's against Corey, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on most likely winner right now from each of you? Or like you can rank even like in order top 3 or all 5.
I would say I really think that Kira's winning. I think the solid second would be Jimmy, regardless of which of the other 3 that the 2 of them sit next to. I do think that Kira has a harder time if Jimmy's there, but I still think that she would win. I mean, I guess we could go through vote by vote if we wanted to, but I just think that we vote now. Trinity in my head. I just think that Kira's story is very strong. This whole idea of, especially like the third time's the charm, if she pitches that of like from 7 to 9 to 10, how she's adapted her game, and she's understood that, you know, in the past powers have fucked her over, and so this is the first time she didn't need one, and when she had one she threw it away right away and used it to a huge way to flush Ben's. That, you know, even when Emma left, that assuming again she makes it to final tribal, that she was still able to get herself to the end, even though she lost her number 1 ally. She also lost Joe very early in jury. So like it's been a theme of not having to worry about losing allies to make it. Like I think don't get me wrong, I think Jimmy has a great pitch too, but I'm just very sold on Kira here.
Yeah, I agree. I think at least especially from watching this episode, it was clear to me how like the understanding that Kira has of kind of the social landscape of the game is very strong. She was strategizing with Emma and Amelia very well. She came up with the plan to steal Corey's vote, and then also player idol and having that understanding of how that was going to impact the vote. And I think as long as she is sitting in the final three and understands like her game and the impact that she's had and is able to explain that, I think she probably clears, at least from what I've seen, I think she clears everybody except maybe Corey. If Corey makes a miraculous run, maybe finds another idol, maybe wins another immunity challenge, or spins a vote onto Ben or Jimmy maybe in the next 2 episodes, barring something miraculous like that. I think I have Kira over the other 3.
Yeah, for me, I felt this way last week too, and starting to feel it even prior to that Kira and Jimmy are the 2 that I'm pretty sure it has to be one of them that win at this point. Unless the caveat of Corey getting to the end. It's the whole, if Corey's not immune, I assume he's gone, just because he's played such a big flashy game and been in control of a lot of the game since the start. So obviously if Corey gets there, I think Corey would get the win. But if we're talking Jimmy and Kira, if they both go against each other in Final Tribal, I think it could be a close vote and I think Richie might be a swing vote. I want to also address I want to talk more about a potential between Jimmy versus Kira, but Devin also did ask us if there's anyone we think has 0 shot of winning in the remaining 5. Did anyone want to start us off on that? I can if you want, but
go ahead. I can, but I started last time, so you go.
Okay. I do think it's Amelia, and I don't say that like in a disrespectful way. She is aware of her game and what's going on around her and knows no one's going after her. And I think she realizes she's going to get to the end. The problem is the people that are around her. I don't see a way she can pitch a case against the games that they have played, or even make a move that she could claim as her own and convince the jury to then also vote for her. So I thought she was in a tricky spot before. I think it's even trickier now for her to make an argument to win. I just think there's not a combination I can see where she would get a majority of the jury votes. But I think she's also the most likely to be there in the final 3. I don't see a world that anyone's voting out Amelia in either of the next 2 rounds.
I
agree, and I think that's the only name I would say to answer that question, but I'll play a little devil's advocate. I think on the season I played as Survivor Wisconsin, that's how at least me and all of my allies in the game viewed Sam Groves, who went on to win the game. When I got voted out, I thought Sam Groves was like total non-player, total non. I just thought Jimmy was kind of carrying him to the end, and then he was sitting next to 2 people who were allies and couldn't differentiate their game from each other too much, and he won. He got everybody's vote. So I think there is a path for Amelia to win the game, but at least to me, it seems pretty slim right now.
Who would be the 2 people that she could take that you wouldn't be able to differentiate their games from? Because I don't know if there is that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if there's that combo, because it would be kind of her and Ben, I guess, might have played together, I think, most of the game. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, I don't know if there's another duo that would steal votes from each other like that remaining. So
I think this round was Amelia's downfall. I'm not saying that she beats Kira, but I think that if she were to turn on Ben here, I guess he still plays the idol, so it's null and void. But I just thought I think if she had wrote it out with Kira and Emma, I think she could have had maybe more votes over Emma. I don't know if she takes it over Kira, but I think she would have had more of a fighting chance. I view Amelia in this season similar to how I did Maddie in Second Chance, in that even though she doesn't have a chance of winning, it doesn't mean she didn't play a good game. I almost voted for Maddie, which also, if we didn't talk about this last season, would have been a gag, because then Maddie would have been splitting the vote between Vincent and Dan for who would have won. So I was the deciding vote. You're welcome, Dan. So, you know, sometimes it can, like, who knows, maybe Amelia will be the deciding vote and it'll be a split and someone will vote for her and she'll have to, you know, break the tie. But my point is that it doesn't mean it was a bad game. It just means that there was one person who played a better game, and that sucks. And that's really hard. But I think Amelia's been playing her heart out. I think I've said this probably before, but my one challenge, if I were a juror with Amelia, is that it's been a lot of pivoting to ensure that who she wants to go goes, but not as much clear direction. And I think from a viewer standpoint, that's an incredible game of, like, either getting off Ben or getting on someone else. But I've found from my gameplay, or from playing games as I have, a lot of jurors look for a clearly defined game, and that no matter how well you pitch that at a final tribal council, it's almost too little too late, because they've had so much time to just mull over who they want to vote for that it's hard to have them pivot. Again, Dan got me. I was very hell-bent that I was voting for Maddie, and Dan convinced me in FTC. So never say never, but it is hard.
Yeah, and Devin had a follow-up question that I kind of touched on earlier. If we think that Ben still has a shot, I already kind of talked on it. Do either of you guys think, like, what would Ben's best path be to a win here?
I don't know who he has to sit next to. I think he's probably needs to sit next to maybe Jimmy and Amelia, and hope he can out-talk Jimmy in a final tribal council. But I don't know if many people can out-talk Jimmy in a final tribal council. So I don't know. I mean, he hasn't played like a bad game, so I definitely think there's still a chance that he wins. Who knows what happens in the next 2 episodes? There's plenty of time to add to your resume still. But if final tribal council happened right now, I don't think he gets votes over Kira and Jimmy. So I think he has more to do before he is going to win the game.
I'll push it, and like, I'll pull the Quentin in this one. I'll play the devil's advocate. I think if he cuts Amelia in the same way she has to cut him, if he says, I kept her around, I let her defend me all through jury, I was going out multiple times, and I let her ensure, so we had from both sides, I had my people, she had her people, to make sure that I got here, and then I cut her right at 4 because I didn't need her anymore. She was expendable. He loses her vote, but he still has a chance for how many others? 8? That's something that would convince me, like, that was intentional for you to keep her along. It wasn't just the friendship like she was for you. She was just a resource for you to use. It's not, I don't think Ben is villainous enough to do that, but that even more so would convince me to vote for him, to be like, wow, this is not the typical Ben. In the same way that I'm right now, I'm as a viewer, I'm like, this is not the typical Kira. So that makes me, like, cheer for her. You know, for a returnee season, you can't play your same game. Allow me in Second Chance.
That's interesting, because I think if he does that, I don't think he does lose Amelia's vote. I think Amelia would still vote for Ben to win if she was on jury. But in that scenario, what is Ben against then? Kira and Jimmy? Because then there's the possibility that Kira and Jimmy could split votes against each other, but I think it'd be hard to get a majority of votes against the 2 of them.
I think at that point it's hard to get majority of votes against, like, no matter how you split it, I think it would make for a much more interesting vote count. I don't think it would necessarily be as obvious as some other variations.
I think as somebody who wants to see fireworks in the final 3, Ben, Kira, and Jimmy in final tribal council would be pretty electric. So that's 100%. Definitely what I'm rooting for. I don't know if that's best for any of their games, but that's what I'm rooting for.
100%. I agree, because I think Corey sweeps it, and I think, unfortunately, we see Amelia's gameplay, but I don't think that this jury does, unfortunately. And I think I hope that she gets there, because I want to see her pitch, and I'm kind of excited to see this full rounded out story, talking about like 3 seasons. where we're talking about Ben, Kira, Amelia, like these 3 seasons kind of culminating to this like great game. I worry that the jury's going to have made up their mind by then. So yeah, for that point, I will agree. I would love to see it be a Jimmy, Kira, and Ben to see what the fuck happens.
Okay, before we bring Emma on, I want to run through this hypothetical of a Jimmy, Kira, and Amelia final tribal. Okay, and so that would leave there's 8 people on the jury. I'll say who I think would vote for sure for Kira, at least at this point. I think she has Joe, Emma, and Dakota. For Jimmy, I think Jimmy would get Corey's vote. I think there's I don't know where Ben would go. I think Nolan might go Jimmy. Based on, it might be cheating, but based on talking with Emily last week and her being upset that Kira didn't vote for Jimmy when Jimmy did the watchful eye advantage, even though she probably still would have voted Emma there. I think Emily might vote Jimmy over Kira in that case. And then Richie, I have no idea. I don't know who he feels more wronged by, because I think that's what's going to play into
Richie's
it for
the
Richie.
wild card. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Richie and a little bit Ben. I feel like Corey, Emily, and Nolan may lean Jimmy, and Ben might go either way as well.
And you said this is Kira, Jimmy,
and Amelia.
Amelia?
Amelia being, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Would anyone vote Amelia? Would Richie just say Amelia at this point? Because Amelia said, you know, Richie, I fuck with you. And Richie said, okay.
I see. It's interesting. My toss up is Corey. I feel like the votes I have in reverse order would be, I think Richie would vote Amelia. I think Joe, Dakota, Emily, and Kira, or sorry, Emily and Emma would vote Kira. And I think Nolan would vote Jimmy. I think Ben would vote Amelia. I don't want to metagame this too much because I tend to metagame a lot. I just remember, I feel like Ben was on the fence in his voting confessional in Second Chance between you and Vincent, because he was debating between game versus friend. And I just could see that happening here between Kira and Amelia for Ben's vote of like, do I go for my friend, or do I go for who I think played the better game?
He is friends with Kira too, though.
Yeah. I don't know. It kind of, the season just reads more like, yes, he's friends with Kira, but I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But regardless, I guess it doesn't even really matter in my example. Yeah, Kira would still have 4, so it doesn't really matter what Corey does. So I still think Kira takes it. I think Emily would vote Kira over Jimmy. I'm kind of surprised that you think the opposite, but we don't have to get into all that. We don't have too much time.
What that Corey would? Oh, Emily would vote
Kira over.
I could see her do that, but I don't know. She was mad about Kira after her vote out, like on the actual episode was mad, but maybe she's over it by the time it comes around.
I think that she's mad in the moment, and then she's like, okay, I respect it though.
But I also think that both Emily and Corey really, really like the flashy gameplay, and that's why they are doing the flashy gameplay, and Jimmy is the one doing the flashy gameplay.
Sure.
And so I could see them voting that way because of that. But Quentin, did you have an idea of where these votes might lay out?
I just kind of echo what you guys would say. I think I feel like I agree with where Richie would go. I think Richie's vote would probably go on Amelia. I don't think I can really speak on Joe, Emma, Dakota, or Emily, because I don't really know their games or their relationships, because I don't think I watched their episodes where they were voted out.
You just got caught up tonight. It's okay.
I did just get caught up.
That's
so
totally
yes,
fine.
There's a lot that I missed out on. But I think the most interesting vote there would be Ben probably choosing between Amelia and Kira. I agree. That'd be a tough decision for him, because I know he's good friends with both, and choosing between game and friend, it's very tough, especially in a 24-hour game. I think that's something that you get removed from as a viewer, is how fast these games are going when you're playing in the course of 24 hours, and you can't even get your thoughts together to really fully understand why you're voting the way you are. It's something you realize like a few days later. So I think, yeah, it'd be a really tough decision for him to make in the moment.
Yeah, and Jimmy is also Ben's friend too. Ben's friends with everyone.
Yes,
So.
well, right.
Ben's missed.
All right. I think we've talked enough about potential options. Let's get the star of the hour on. None other than Emma herself. How are you doing tonight, Emma?
Hey everybody, doing good. How are you guys doing this fine Thursday night?
Doing great.
I am
Good.
so much better now. Dan and I have been waiting for this all season. I mean, not under these circumstances, of course, but
Sure.
Jimmy, in his delusion, thought he had pulse in the game. You, my dear, understand and have complete pulse on this game. So it's so excited to hear your thoughts for this thought. Really. So first of all, how are you feeling? I feel like it's always so interesting to watch back and eliminate the elimination.
Oh yeah. Definitely an interesting episode to go back and watch. And like, when you just want to like reach through the screen and like grab yourself by the shoulders and like shake yourself and be like, wake up, like this is happening kind of style. I feel like I definitely had that moment tonight while I was watching the episode. Looking back on it, I think there was a lot more paranoia on my side and maybe a little bit of Kira too, because I feel like there were some conversations we were having on the couch, like right in the final, that like switched things up, honestly, with our game plan. We kind of went in with that vote, having a plan, and then I remember us sitting there and we're talking through like, what about this possibility or this possibility, or what if somebody does an idol sharing swap moment and plays a really epic move here to really solidify their winning move in the game. And in my opinion, I definitely overthought it, and that's how I ended up where I ended up in this game.
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, because just last week you were able to successfully tie the vote by voting for Emily, and then this week I'm assuming it was for a potential split vote because of all the different outcomes you were just talking about. But had you voted Jimmy, it would have been back to a tie vote again. And so just to have that happen in back-to-back rounds like that, where you're on the opposite end this time, has to be a little bit rough. Could you explain a little bit more about the decision for Amelia and how like all the different possible outcomes factored into that decision?
Yeah. I think in that moment, even too, we talked because Kira had revealed to me that she was going to take Corey's vote. So I already knew that going in. So I knew at least there was the 2 for Jimmy. I personally thought Amelia was also voting Jimmy. So I thought we had the 3 really going into it already from that start. I wasn't fully sure on both Ben and Jimmy, but especially once we got into tribal, there was a lot of whispering going back and forth. So I started doubting a lot of the assumptions I had going into it. I think with my vote, we were worried a little bit about, like I said, any of the idols swapping or sharing happening. Like if Ben decided to make a really epic move and assume that he was feeling really confident in his game and play it on Jimmy's behalf to kind of solidify a partnership to put them at least together in the future. I think we were a little worried about that. And so how do you put another name at least in the rink that way? Looking back on it, I think it was one of the stupidest moves I've ever made as a gameplay, but you live and you learn and you move on.
So between that move or taking Dolphin Sam to the finals in Cabin Fever,
okay, way to bring it up. I mean, maybe both are those pretty much like top 2 worst moves ultimately.
We did get a flashback of you from Evolutions as well.
Yeah, what a blast from the past watching that, honestly. Honestly forgot that even happened too. So, wow.
I know. I was like, oh, we're getting the whole Emma highlight reel here. Like, not looking good for her game.
Really, yeah.
So it sounds like, and I think it was Quentin who was saying earlier, like it's so difficult in that moment, right? It's so fast paced. You're not like thinking about things fully through, but it sounds like in that moment when you were in the game, you really thought there was a chance that Ben might play the idol for Jimmy.
Mm-hmm. I personally maybe did it from that side, which is fair. So for me, between Kira's 2 votes, and I thought Amelia was with us on the Jimmy swing. I thought we already really had it secured, and mine was even more that backup cushion that way. And I think too, in my mind, I was trying to think, okay, even if I do get through this next vote, where can I say my vote went with? And I voted Amelia. to me, Amelia wasn't in my final 3 taking to the end. And so I think that even helped build my partnership for my future game that way also. Did it help in the moment when I needed it? Not as much as I wanted it to.
Wait, so what was your ideal final 3 then?
Oh, my ideal final 3 would have been myself, Kira, and then Ben. And that's just from at least the group that was left, at least at that point. There were definitely others that were in there before we hit that point.
So here's another fun question for you. Did you know that Kira had the idol?
I did not know until pretty close leading up to the vote when she had whispered in my ear when we were on the couch that she was going to play it for herself. And so that was the last time that I heard about it. But honestly, I didn't really care. And I didn't think that changed my opinion of our partnership that we had from the entire game at that point.
Yeah. As someone who did not know about her idol till after the season and was her number 1. So I get it. It didn't change my opinion either. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just wild to think that had she played it for you, would be in a very different situation.
I'm not gonna lie, I did have that thought, I think, a few days after the game, but you know, you don't want to go through those what ifs and like rack your brain and put yourself through those kind of tunnels.
It's not CBS Survivor. It's not that serious.
Right.
You already went through enough what if scenarios leading up to that vote. You don't have to do it after the vote too.
Yeah, no, I mean, and after too, I'm gonna call it like the Emma meltdown the episode before and losing the challenge prior to Corey on that one too. Like my mind was in complete chaos, honestly, even going into that vote. So even when Jimmy's fake pulling out this idol too, and he's jumping for it, I'm like, there's no way in heck it's hidden that tall, that high in such a hard spot when there's how many people that would have that height disadvantage. Kira's, yes, because it's still an open view to be able to be seen that way. So after watching even the episode, I was like, wow, your mind was not working after all of those things were happening, Emma.
Yeah, and when you saw the idol or whatever Jimmy pulled out, at that point, are you still actually worried? Like, because was there ever consideration to then not split the vote because you saw whatever Jimmy just pulled out?
The only worry I had, I think, with him faking it was that he was playing an act of faking it because he actually had one that he had found earlier in the game and it saved up until this point. That, I think, was my only concern because I was like, how epic of a move would that have been to be able to have been like, I really solidified by teasing it and like making a joke, honestly, of it and even showing it. And we can literally see Ben's right there and how real that one looks. So I thought that would have been something cool, but honestly, maybe over the head from others' viewpoints.
Yeah, and not to try and meta it too much, but then once Kira does tell you she also found an idol and you know Ben has an idol, does that trigger in your head too that like, okay, what are the chances that there's a third idol in play at Final 6 right now when Jimmy's also pulling out whatever those blue things were?
Yeah, honestly, I always forget the rules at the end of the day of how many idols are in play and what role works through some of those behind the scenes there. So that really wasn't a thought. I think my more red alert during that point was, crap, we're this many people here at Tribal Council, and I'm one of the people that does not have an actual idol in hand, and I'm not wearing a necklace around my neck.
Yeah, that's where I don't know what the actual rules, if Devin has one in place, but I would assume he'd want to avoid a Cerise situation where everyone is immune and then someone's out by default. But like I said, that could be me just like meta-ing too much in my head like Will and I like to do. And also doing that from the comfort of my couch and watching you guys all stress out and not myself. I also was curious about, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. Will, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'll ask you the question that Devin asked this to a couple of folks early in the season, and then I've just repeated it because I think it's fun. And this is also for you too, Quentin. So whoever has an answer first, feel free. What theme would incentivize you to come back to Survivor Wisco?
Oh, gosh. That's a great question.
That is a great question. I mean, I'd say having watched the last 2 returnee seasons, I'd love to play on a season with other returnees. That just looks like a lot of fun. It adds a lot of strategy into the season because you have to deal with all of those prior relationships. It gets really a lot messier, a lot faster. I think that'd be a really a really fun sort of landscape to navigate.
For you, Emma, would you be interested in an all women's season? This has been going around a lot.
I think an all-women's season would be so, so cool if that could actually happen, but I know it's so hard sometimes to get women players,
Because we
and
need
kind
them
of collect
girls.
that actually, yeah. So it is hard, but if that was the case, you know, I think I could get behind it to maybe put one more under my belt that way. But I see Devin's comment too, and I kind of laugh too because I'm like, oh, like, is it maybe the moment to kind of hang up the cleats and maybe retire from that side? Like, should I maybe stay back and do more of the camera work behind the scenes and take the pictures? I kind of enjoy that too. So up for debate. We'll see what my future holds, I guess.
No, please, yes to the pictures. If you're not playing on a season, your photography is great. But you cannot retire, Emma. I actually enjoyed watching you play. I was upset to not see more from you throughout the season, which is why I'm excited to be able to talk to you now. And I did remember what my question was when you were talking about your ideal final three. I was curious how you would have pitched your game against Kira in that final three, especially since the two of you had worked so closely the entire game. Like, what was the idea in your head, or were you just like, I've worked with Kira this whole game, I'm going to remain loyal to her?
I think it was a little of that and a little of even too, I really liked the storyline behind me bringing the proposal to Kira from that side even too. I vividly remember, like, I think we walked in the bathroom to go change into our blue shirts and it was the two girls on the team. And I was like, hey, this makes sense. Like, let's make it happen. So I liked the case that I think I was the one that brought it to the table, at least there. Does that mean that's my only selling point and that's what's going to make me win over Kira? Probably not, honestly. So what else could I build into that? I think at that point I was even trying to, how do you see if me making it into the next round? Because I knew there was rumblings of Kira's name at that point. And so even too, hearing what some of the others were thinking of their final three, I don't know if they wanted to be in the end with Kira at that point. I think they were seeing too some of the great connections she had built, similar to the way I did on my side that way. And I think it started freaking people out a little bit, at least what I was able to see before I left the game there.
Oh, yeah, that is interesting. So when what we were kind of talking about before you got on, it might be a blessing in disguise for you to have gone out here so that there are still other big targets, so that Kira is not the now big target.
Mm-hmm.
There was a Sam. There was a question here from Sam, and I'm sure there has to be an answer for this. But was there anything that was not caught on camera that you feel was missed that you wish was caught? I feel like that could have been worded way easier to say. Oh wait, your mic is kind of off right there now. Just
can you
wait, try again.
Can you hear me now? Is it working?
I think it is now. It kind of cuts in and out, but I wanted to make sure that we could actually hear what your answer was.
Okay. Trying to think, because I think when I went and watched a few of the episodes back, I was like, there was a few moments that I wish were caught on camera. One of them was definitely like Emily coming up and literally almost like being standing in directly in front of me and being like, do you want to make a move or do you not want to win this game and be sitting on the bench, basically? Like something along those lines. And I remember just being like, holy cow, like this is kind of the proposal where I could either shake it up with her, where she's kind of between her and Corey during those rounds. I know we're scrambling a little bit more. And in my mind, I'm racking too. I'm like, but am I in their final three when we go to the end that way? And I didn't see it from that route. And so I really, really wished I could have had more conversations with Emily. I feel like that was even one of my, if I could go back and change what I did in the game, would have been talking to Emily earlier pre-merge from that side. Other moments off camera, trying to think, probably honestly in the early ones before we got to the merge even, I think there was a lot that was kind of not shown or maybe not caught that way, but it was also just really chaotic and super fast going through those. Like I think especially during Kyle and Vincent's round that way, even with the vote against Vincent, like I feel like there was a lot more that was discussed and had as conversations. And I wish I could remember exactly what some of those fully were. I'd have to go back honestly and watch those. It's been a while.
Well, what about as early as round one? Because that's probably where the audio issues were the worst. And but you had to make a gigantic decision. You were essentially approached with an ultimatum that vote Connor or else. And so ultimately, you obviously vote for Connor. Do you want to walk us through that decision and what happened, how you were approached, since we didn't really get to see any of that?
Yeah. So that one honestly was one of the toughest moves I think I've ever played in all of the Survivor games I've played so far, because I really wanted to play with Connor. Connor and I had even had a conversation where like, we're good. We don't need to talk to each other. And he went his way and I went my way. And it was literally, I think, in the last 2 minutes, like we know we're about to get called down to tribal council, and everybody's still like, what do we do? And Kyle's name's being thrown out, Joe's name's being thrown out. And I know the first round, at least, I wanted to work at least with Jimmy a little bit before we got into the merge, because I wanted to use him a little bit as a shield from that side. And so he came up to me and said, hey, I really am concerned that you're friends with Dakota outside the game. Dakota's with Connor. He goes, I really don't see you or Connor staying too long, kind of, if that's an issue, that because we think that's going to be a future issue. And so he basically was like, it's going to be either you or Connor that stays and plays in the next few rounds. And I kind of felt like my hands were tied a little bit in that sense, because racking through my minds with even numbers, I'm like, I didn't know fully if I could get Ben, Kira, maybe to jump over a little bit too, and maybe do something else from that side. And so while I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, if I want my best shot of what I can do to make sure I can at least play this game, I said I was at least open to voting Connor. And then a few other people came into our circle, and I remember Jimmy kind of looked over and he was like, she's open to voting Connor. Do we want to vote Connor? And we're all kind of looking, and no one really said anything. Devin says, come down to tribal council. We're walking down the stairs, and all you hear is Connor's name down the stairs. We get to the tribal council. I go up to Connor and I said, not going to lie to you, your name's out there and I'm really worried for you. And Connor gave the biggest sigh. And I've never felt like I was going to throw up on the spot more in like a tribal council, just like that gut feeling where, you know, it's not going to be good and it's not how you're going to want it to go. And it did. And I know when I even went to my voting booth and I voted Connor's name, the thought in my mind was, if the vote's for Connor and I don't show that I'm voting for Connor, they're not going to think I'm an alliance or in agreement with them. And it already shoots me in the foot from the start.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely the right decision. And I think that you had one of the harder starting positions just in general.
Mm-hmm.
Connor also being one with a hard starting position, and we saw how that worked out. And so I mean, Sam says it as well after that question, but I think even if it wasn't necessarily all caught on camera, you could still see how well you were able to adapt and make the social connections you needed to make it deep in the game. And even if not everyone seemed to notice it during the game or respect it, I'm talking Nolan saying that you would be one of his goats. What do you have any response to that? Because I think that was the only person that actually used that terminology.
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, to me, even too, you saw like there was the clip of the BEN Alliance. Like, I remember walking in that room and they threw that out there, and I kind of laughed and was like, oh, that's funny. And then I was like, I don't know if these two actually really want to work with me. And I was like, I feel like they're just screwing with me a little bit here. And I remember even leaving that room and being like, if I want to make them think I'm working with them, fine, let's let them think they have that. But at the end of the day, I was like, they weren't going to be in my top, unfortunately, because I just had too many concerns on that front.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't think I could ever fully 100% trust Ben or Nolan. There's just always going to be that in the back of your head. What are they going to pull next? My wife here says, Emma, you have the same name as our beautiful cat, which I think I told you when you were taking photographs for season 8. But she asked, what vote or moments were you most excited to be a part of this season?
Oh, that's fun. Let's see. I really did honestly, I really enjoyed playing the whole season. I think it was, one, yes, a very intense season. And two, a very a different type of season where I feel like there was honestly a lot of pivoting on the fly. And this is probably the first season I've ever had to play the most defense from that standpoint also. I think in the past, I've been able to kind of not have my name thrown out in as many rounds and have it written down as much. And it was a whole different ballpark this game. And so I feel like that was kind of some of my favorite moments, even going into it, was kind of seeing, okay, how can I go in and kind of pitch my case almost each round, maybe slightly different to different people. And how do I think about it from the bigger picture when it comes to, okay, what does that mean then long term when it comes to, did this person actually follow through? Did this person actually give me body language that I can read, that I can agree with from what they're saying too? And so I think that was super telling because it was a great mix of a different type of group to be able to kind of trial that out a little bit as we went through. I think my favorite vote was probably the Vincent vote because I think he felt so safe. And I hate to say that because I would have loved to have played with Vincent. Like after hearing like more about him, like when we were hanging out post the game, I was like, gosh, he would have been a great person that like if I would have partnered with him, we could have been like so sneaky about it and nobody would have known too. And I loved that, but I didn't see that personally as a door for a while. So I kind of closed that door pretty quickly. And that's kind of where I encouraged more of that Vincent vote to happen too then there that round.
I was going to ask about that then. So like you were fully on board with getting Vin out. You weren't like thinking about an alternative because I know Ben probably would have been on board to keep Vin at that point too.
Oh, 100%. And that's the reason why Vin had to go is because Ben had basically, I don't know if he had fully said or if I had just kind of felt from some of his body language when I had thrown Vincent's name out there. I could tell Ben wanted to work with Vin and I said that has to be squashed because I said either when that happens, that means both of them either jump ship to the villains and then start picking everybody off one by one, or they split off and then still have their own two different groups. But at that point, I'm not in either of them at that point. So how does that help my gameplay?
Yeah, I think it's probably a good call. If Ben wants something, it's probably best to do the opposite. Speaking of moments, you briefly touched on it earlier, but last episode, you not only had the episode title, but it was from your iconic response to Corey at the Final 7 Tribal. Do you want to talk more about leading up to that moment? Were you just fed up with him at that point? Or were you like, this is the time I've been quiet this entire game. This is the time I'm going to get loud.
I remember sitting on the couch and I felt like that just tribal council was just dragging on. And I was like, I'm ready to get to it. Like, let's vote. And I remember he just had to say just that one line right at the end. And he was like, you know who to vote for. And I was sitting there and I was like, no, I was like, I can say something here too. Cause I was like, my name is in the ring. It's me versus Emily at this point, like for this vote. And so I was like, hey, we're going to give it a shot and say something. Did I maybe get the full punch? No. In my opinion, watching it back, I think I could have hit a little more. But at that point, it was more like, why are you even kind of adding more commentary in? I don't need to hear it. The group here is going to make their decision and vote either way for their best game. Let's just stop talking and get to the vote at that point. I don't usually do those kind of confrontational moments. So that, like, even watching it back, I'm like, who is that girl? And like, what happened to her?
I love it. I love it. My whole mantra is if I have a feeling I could be going down, I'd rather go down in flames. You obviously didn't that round. So I'm glad you were able to have that moment because I was cheering you on, even though it was against my own fantasy drafted team where I'm like, if it's between Emma and Emily, I would need Emma to go. But I was like, that moment was too good to not cheer for.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I know there's a few times I think when I even watched back the episodes, I was like, oh, I feel like I should have talked more about even my justification of like my votes for Emily. But to me, as soon as I started watching her in the early rounds of the merge, I'm like, this girl's winning the game. I'm like, if she gets to final 3, I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to be in with her or not, but I'm like, she already gets my vote because I was just watching her work in such good pockets and the communication style. And you could tell she's in sales because of the way she talks and articulates her words. And I was like, gosh, she's a phenomenal player. And I was like, I don't want to go up against her. I do not want to verbally bat her in the final 3. So to me, that was one that I wanted to start throwing that name out there pretty early on then. Did it stick? No. Did it cause issues against me and her for a little bit? Yeah. Do I wish I could have worked with her? Oh, 100%. I think that could have turned the game in so many different ways.
Was there also a hidden factor that your names were similar, so you were worried that people would target you instead of Emily?
Honestly, that thought didn't cross my mind, but maybe I was just oblivious to it.
Devin did have a question that we kind of talked about with the first vote, but he wanted to know, was there a thought of pairing with Vin, Kyle, and Connor to stick together, or was that never really a possibility?
I think I don't feel like it ever became a full possibility of it being the four of us, because I feel like there was never a point that it was able to be just the four of us to have that conversation. I think a lot of the newer air players, and I know sometimes I even get bucketed in that one too. I feel like they did a really good job of making sure at least one person was around when some of that group was breaking out, that they were able to observe and listen to the conversations and add commentary and still be kind of observant. But I don't think it was something that was easy to do. And I think too, at least for me, I didn't talk to Vin, I think, until the round we voted him out, where I literally said, "Oh, it's gonna be a rough round." And that was like our first conversation, even two working together. So I didn't know really where he stood. To me, Kyle is a great player and such a stealthy player because everybody adores Kyle. I adore Kyle. So I didn't know if I wanted to get involved with him just because I didn't know how long he'd last in the game from that side also.
And I think also from what we could make out from the footage, Connor was pushing for Kyle. And
Oh yeah.
did anyone talk to Connor about why that was maybe not the best idea for him?
I'm personally not sure. I know even that first round, I had, I think, one conversation with Connor before I saw him, then before going into the tribal council. And it was basically like, you and I are good. Let's go talk to other people.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even get to have a chat with him before going into that final vote to even get his thoughts on it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunate.
Yeah.
Moving from Connor to Dakota, because I had a question about this since you are clearly friends with Dakota outside of the game. So once you guys meet up at Merge, Dakota, for some reason, doesn't fully trust you. Was there ever any attempt to try and work with Dakota from your end?
I think I tried at least a little bit. I went into at least a conversation where I tried to be like, hey, and she was the only one that I told her that I was working with Kira. I didn't really reveal that to anybody else from that side. So that was kind of, I think, a branch I tried to reach out to be like, hey, here's kind of what I'm doing. What are you doing from that side? Do we want to maybe stay close that way? I think even too, when we merged, we kind of, I think, both almost had that like, maybe we shouldn't look like we're talking too much right off the bat, because how is that going to help our game anyway? Like, everybody at that point had almost come up to us in different pockets and been like, what do you guys think about each other? And I'm like, oh, it's such a hard uphill battle to like start climbing when there's already those kind of preconceived thoughts then, because you're already battling something already outside the game too then at that point. And how, in my mind, do I really try to separate even to my gameplay versus like how I run then my personal life and relationships?
Probably would get harder to make a decision to vote her out later down the road if you had to too. Like the further you work together and get.
Yeah, and I mean, I even for her vote out, I didn't vote her. I voted somebody else. I don't even remember the name I honestly threw down, but to me, I couldn't vote her down, especially after the Connor vote. Like I was like, I voted one, I cannot vote the other, and I was like, we're not going to do that. And to me, I don't want to write her name down either from that side.
And I know I've been hogging all the questions, so please, Will or Quentin, feel free to cut me off at any point to say anything you want to say, because I want you to have the opportunity to ask questions too. And same with chat. Anyone still has other questions? I think I got through the ones so far in the chat, so send any more additional questions you have. Okay, I'll stop talking now if Will wanted to say
I actually
something.
have a question
good.
for you, Emma. I am not super caught up in the season, so I was watching this episode, and it seemed to me that you and Amelia were pretty close and strategizing together the whole time, and then you both ended up voting for each other. So how did that come about? Like, when did that change? Was that like a snap decision at the end, right before tribal?
I feel like a lot of the conversations in this episode with Amelia and me weren't really conversations that showed kind of the relationship we had with any kind of our strategic thoughts together that way. I think there was earlier in kind of early round of merges where her and I were a little bit more aligned and had talked, and I was kind of a little bit more in agreement to some of the things of what she wanted to do in gameplay. But I think, and I want to say maybe it was after like the Emily Nolan round, one of those two that way, where I didn't really fully see myself aligned with Amelia, and I saw she just had stronger alliances with other people, and I did not see myself being her top 1, 2, or 3 from that side. And so I didn't really trust her. And I think even in one of the clips of this episode, it was me, Kira, and Amelia talking. And then Kira walks away and Amelia goes, "Wait, what's the plan?" And I think I just kind of laughed. And I think I actually walked away. And that's why the clip got cut, because I don't think I even recapped the plan, because I was like, are you even voting with us then from that side? And I kind of was a little taken aback in that moment. So no shade whatsoever to Amelia. Super sweet, phenomenal individual. Wish I maybe would have played with her a little bit more, because I feel like she was sneaking under the radar, but she was doing a great job of doing it too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
My question. So I have two, but let me start with the first. So that's how that works, Will. So first question. I don't know if I have it fully formulated, but I'm just thinking about how you had said like your final three would be you, Kira, and Ben, and so I guess the two questions into one that I'm like conceptualizing is like, why put Amelia out of the running after the cast voted her as the GOAT, but also simultaneously, like my other question, which I think you can kind of answer two in one, is how do you, having worked so closely with Kira, how do you separate yourself from her in that final tribal to win?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me was some of the work I think that I had in conversations with both of them behind the scenes. And then I think even too, just the difference in our just relationship building also throughout the game, I think is kind of where I think I could have had some solid cases to talk about different conversations throughout the game that I had with multiple individuals where they were pretty pivotal, and maybe some of the swaps of my name being fully written down by the majority or not from that side. I think even too, when it came to who had their name written the most out of those three, it was me at the end of the day. And so talking about that even as a story, talking about how even from round one, I was probably one of the probably three in that was going to be somebody looked at. When it came to even the Kyle and Vincent round, my name wasn't missed in that, but those two didn't have to bat an eye at anything to worry about their names being thrown out in the mix there. So what even a story to start telling to kind of build even kind of this here, you had to really work your way up from it at this point. You hit merge and you kind of even then too started opening some of your relationships a little bit differently, where no one really said my name in the first few rounds of the merge even too, which solidified me at least getting those next steps then there also from that side. I think too, honestly, I probably would have had to think a little bit more as we started would keep moving forward, thinking of like final five, final four with a little bit more. And I honestly know, well, once I got voted out, all talks of how my winning case would have looked went out the door for me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My other question, to circle back to kind of a part two of my earlier question about like returnee seasons. And this one I'll start with Quentin, and then I'll go to Emma second, just because Quentin has less options to choose from, which is so the first theme that a lot of people have answered is blood versus water, to catch you both up to speed. The second one, which we've been toying around with, and Christian kind of alluded last week a little bit that maybe there's some whispers about it, is a rival season. Where what my push to Devin was last week is, we don't know who our rival is. There's no pre-gaming. It's like the challenge. You show up, it could be a bunch of different people, and then have fun. So since Quentin, you have less options, I'll have you go first. Who do you think your rival would be? And then Emma, subsequently, you have more seasons to pull from, so I'll give you another minute to think about who you think Prod would pick for you.
Yeah, there's only one answer for me. And you know, this person has a lot of his own rivals, so I don't know if he would necessarily say me, but Jimmy, who bestowed the loving nickname on me, Clown in a Crown, you know, he definitely is my Survivor Wisconsin op. And yeah, if there was a rival season, there's I don't think there's anybody else that I could be matched with on my season. He was my ultimate op that season. He was the reason I went home. So I would love a chance to play with Jimmy again. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Emma?
I think for me, I'm going to say I think it'd be interesting to see if it was myself and Maddie maybe paired against each other. Been able to watch a little bit of some of her playing in different seasons that she's been. I think she's been in what, 2 now, and even to her trek to the final 3 in the first season she played for Whitewater too. I think she'd be a really interesting one maybe to kind of pair against myself for maybe more of our social game from that side.
Great.
We have a couple questions.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I saw some from Sam.
Sam wants to know, and you can answer this both ways.
Sure.
Was there anyone you were surprised that wasn't on this season? And you could also ask, is there anyone you were surprised was on the season?
Let's see. That's a great question.
I think the question.
I think I was surprised to see Corey. I did not think Corey was going to be on this season, and maybe I was naive in thinking that going into it. But what a great personality, honestly, to have on Heroes versus Villains. So score from that end, Devin. Let's see. And who was I not surprised to see? I think there's a few names, honestly, and it's hard to just pick one from that side, even too. I think it would have been really cool to have had Cody come back from playing with him in Evolution. Loved playing with him there. Think it would have been cool to maybe have seen, oh gosh, who else? Even maybe Dan from my season. Like, I feel like I haven't seen him for a while, and how fun would that be to like have him come back and play a little bit too? And honestly, like maybe like just put his name back in the game to see like what could happen from that side, even though he's already kind of done his piece for that season at least too.
Yeah, bring him back so you can go redo the final 2 against him and win.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he plays a great hero from that side, so he would have been a good fit for that team.
Yeah. And to answer this quick question, I make the descriptions for the stream as I am getting the stream together, and I just do whatever random words come in my head at the time. So there's that. I didn't expect people to actually read them.
See Devin's chat too, that Colin would have been on Heroes. That would have been epic. Like, honestly, Colin and I had a great game, I think, in Evolution. I feel like that could have been something that would have been good. Don't get me wrong. If everybody had watched that season, though, probably could have been a downfall for both of us too, easily.
So if Colin was there instead of Kyle, do you think things play out a little bit differently on the Heroes Tribe?
100%.
So would he have tried to steer the vote a different way, or do you think he would have been a target being, well, I know Vince also won before, but Colin won as well.
I think from that standpoint, I think it would have definitely depended a little bit on some of the kind of happier form in the game. I think that's where it's a lot of
Emma.
Oh, can you hear me?
Emma, I think is your mic on? Is it like a headphone?
I'm wondering if it's if you get like further away or something, and it like if it's the computer itself.
Could be. Can you hear me now?
Try again.
Can you hear me now? No.
It cuts in and out. I don't know what's causing it. You know what? It's audio just has a vendetta against you, Emma. They don't want you to be heard.
I guess not.
Oh, there, you're back.
Oh, good. Okay. Where did I leave off? Sorry.
About what would have happened with just in the hypothetical that Colin was there, like how the vote may have been driven.
So I think it would have been a lot dependent on some of the even happy hour kind of gathering we had prior, because I think that's kind of what also did Connor a little dirty at the end of the day too. Hearing some of the comments that people thought they just didn't get opportunities to talk to him, it didn't fully give them confidence in him right off the bat. So it would have been interesting seeing Colin's dynamic in that and how he would have maybe gone and conversed with people or not. That would have either set him up for success or not from that side. But I think he otherwise would have been able to come into the game probably with a little bit about how Vincent kind of came into with his approach. So I think it would have been a little bit more open-minded then too for him from that side. So we maybe could have had some opportunities to make some maybe more stealthy alliances and not be kind of recognized for that until it really showed that that's what carried him through then a bit more.
Yeah, it's always so interesting to think about how different the games would have played if the casts were different. Like I had a conversation with Devin recently off camera because Christian and Devin had said publicly on one of the pod episodes that I was considered for HVV. And so I guess the lore is that had I been available for HVV, Nolan and I would have swapped. So Nolan would have played Second Chance, and I would have done Heroes vs. Villains, which makes both games so different just from one swap.
Wow.
So yeah, it's always fun to like, swap just one player and just think about like how different the game would play out.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Quentin, would you say if you were on the season, would you play a hero or a villain?
I don't know where I would have been put. I feel like I don't think my game was that villainous, but the biggest move I made was voting out two-turn Tony at the final 8, I think. Yeah. And that was a total blindside that nobody saw coming. So in that sense, maybe I would have been put in the villains tribe, but also, I mean, I played a very loyal game to the people that I aligned with at the start. So I could see it going either way, however Devin was feeling on the day that he made the tribes would have decided it, I think.
I will agree with Trinity. I think if we're having Jimmy and Ben on the hero side, I think the threshold is pretty low. I think, and even having played with you myself in another franchise, I would say that you're a hero with the strategy of a villain. I think your strategy is villainous, but at the end of the day, you're still a hero at heart. I think you could make a case, but that's why you need to come as a returnee season. You could show more of your villainous prowess.
Well, thank you. Yeah, maybe one day, if I'm so honored to be invited back, I would love to showcase.
I am
put it
sure
on a
you will be.
showcase.
Sweet on the outside. I know you've got it in you. I've seen you play Blood on the Clock Tower.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I think this is a good time for us to talk about
to stir some tea.
To stir some tea. So to bring Quentin and Emma into it. So this is early birds used to call it the player of the episode. We call it serving the immunity. So we're all each going to pick who we thought was serving the immunity for the episode, and we will exclude Emma from this, but the three of us, because Emma knows what happened. Actually, no, we will include Emma. We have done this with previous players, yes. So Emma, what we will ask is who the three of us are going to theorize who we think is next boot, and so you will give us your opinion of what you thought when you were leaving into the jury, so that it's obviously because you know the answer. I guess I'll go first since I'm already talking. I will give serving the immunity to my queen, Kira. I think the fact that she still does not have her name in any, like her name is not in anyone's mouths. She found the idol. She flushed Ben's idol. She lost her number one, yet I still foresee her making final tribal despite it. I just think she's in a perfect place with it. I think she hands down deserves the immunity. No judgment if anyone disagrees for this episode. And I said this last week, if Corey doesn't win, he's next. And of course he won this week. So unfortunately we have Emma. Unfortunately. But again, I think unless he wins, he's next. And if he wins, we said it was either Jimmy or Emma. I think if he wins, now it's Ben, because Ben's idol's flushed. So that's my prediction.
I want to go next because I disagree. But I love Kira. But I don't think I can give her the award this week because the move she was trying to pull off didn't quite work. And it didn't quite work because of everything that Jimmy did this round. Because it by all means should have been Jimmy if it weren't for all of the wild shit he pulls. And it's probably way too much, but I don't think Jimmy knows how to play any other way, and it works for him. So I think I do have to give it to Jimmy this week because I think he managed to save himself here, because I think chances were pretty high he was going home. We even said so last week. We're like, if it's not Corey, we think it'll be Jimmy. And it looked like that was going to be the case, and then it wasn't. And now we're talking to sweet Emma. But as far as who I think will go next, I will stick similar to what you just said. I think it's Corey. If it's not Corey, I think it would still be Jimmy over Ben right now. I don't think that Ben would be seen as a bigger target than either of the two of them, but I could be proven wrong. I have before.
Mistake.
All right, then whoever wants to follow up next.
I can take it. I'll give my immunity to Kira as well. I think she seemed to have just total control this episode for me socially. I was a little confused as to why she played her idol, but once I realized that her playing her idol flushed Ben's idol, everything kind of clicked for me. I think she played a great social game, even though she was on the wrong side of the votes. I don't think it was necessarily a bad outcome for her, and I think she's still in a really good spot. So I think it worked out great for Kira, and I'm gonna give it to her. I'm gonna go as far to say I think Corey does win immunity next episode. I'm gonna predict that, and I think Jimmy goes home. So I think Corey's gonna go on a little run. I don't think he's gonna win out, but I think he goes on a run, wins immunity, and I think Jimmy goes home. I think he's playing a little too hard. I think the fake idol may come back to bite him somewhat. You know, you can in quick games you can kind of pull stuff like that and maybe get away with it, but it's just adding more fuel to the fire, more reasons to vote him out. It gives him more to talk about at Final Tribal Council, and I think people are going to realize that.
My immunity goes to Kira also. I think during this round she played phenomenally. Like, she used her extra vote. She used her idol that really helped to flush out Ben's idol. Her name wasn't thrown out, and so even though, yes, she did use her idol, she still did it in a strategic manner, but she was already secured from that avenue. She didn't have to even fret or honestly probably feel any worry, because during all those conversations, even during the episode, her name was not in the mix really for it, and it was being thrown maybe just to kind of give her a little bit of a worrying, but honestly, she didn't have no frets in mind. She's a rock star player, and she really showed it this round, in my opinion, so she deserves all the immunity for this episode. And then my prediction for next boot is very similar to you guys here. I think it's really challenge dependent next round, and it is between Jimmy and Corey in my mind, who's going to kind of duke it out for who's going to save themselves the next round.
All right. Well, we will find out. Dan and I will be here next Monday on 4/20 for our big finale. And for the first time, I think, ever in Survivor Wisconsin history, we have all 5 finalists joining us on the podcast. Typically, the finalists are not seen until the reunion, but Dan and I wanted to make sure we included them all. So we're going to have a very fast-paced round, but we are going to be joined by all 5 of them. We're very excited for that, to see their thoughts as each of them get picked off one by one until we have our winner of Heroes versus Villains, Survivor Wisconsin Season 10.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, both Quentin and Emma. Really appreciate your time. Emma, I am so happy to get all of the insight from you and to finally hear your voice, even when the audio was cutting out. Sorry again to see your run end, but excited to see you on the jury now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens next.
I agree. And I will give a shout out. Thank you, Quentin, for joining us. Having played with you in a different franchise, it was so great to get to know you better. I've said to Devin off camera, I will say it on camera, you are more than deserving to come back to Survivor Wisconsin. I know it's coming sooner than maybe we even know now. And I'm looking forward to when Dan and I can read your game to filth whenever that time comes.
We will see. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Trinity. Thank you, both you guys, for having me on. This was a ton of fun and definitely has locked me in for the finale. So I'm super excited. I can't wait to come back next week and see what happens.
All right. On that note, until Monday, everyone have a good night and see you later.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.